Morning, people. Oh, I think this is the last of the dream. The 7 blocks told me that it was about the last. Oh, it's the middle of the night. Everybody's still sleeping. I think it's been about just over 3 weeks since the rapture. I think it's probably about day 23, I think it is. And this is the final dream, dream 7. Oh, excuse me. Anyway, the final drawing on the blocks, it turned out to be a picture of the Earth, but with stars all over, but stars and different kinds of stars and a different kind of sun. So I think that was trying to tell me there was a new heavens and a new earth. But anyway, when I looked at the sun, or when I looked at the drawing of the sun, I don't know whether I was shrinking or whether everything was expanding, because those 7 blocks, they weren't blocks anymore. They were huge. They were massive. It was like a mural. There was just a beautiful mural of all seven paintings. And then I rose up over it again, and then I was outside Earth. I could see Earth again, but I was following the flame, the new heat wave that was coming from the new sun, and I could see it hit the Earth. And I followed the path as it went around the Earth, burning everything. And the cool thing is, every once in a while, there would be a building or an area that when the fire touched it, it would burn differently. It would burn in a different way. And that thing, that building, or whatever it was, wasn't destroyed. And I didn't understand that at first, until I watched the fires reach. They all sort of conglomerated, and they all sort of met over top of Israel. And that's when the fires changed. They went from raging fires, burning away sin, to fires of purification that would purify the things that godly hands had touched, the things that righteous hands had touched, the things that were done for the glory of God. They were being preserved, while in the same area, if there was anything sinful hands would touch, they would just burn, turn to ashes and smoke and disappear. And that told me that those other areas of the earth where the Gentiles, if you will, were the ingrafted branches of the redeemed, of the Christians, the stuff that they built for the glory of God, out of a sincere heart, was preserved. It was made everlasting and allowed to be carried over into the new earth. Anyway, after Israel and all the areas in there, and after Jerusalem was all purified, the fires all dissipated around the walled city and around the temple. A lot of the temple, again, was purified, and some of it was burnt, because a lot of it was built for the glory of God, and some was built for evil intent. So the evil and the sin and the perversion and the corruption was removed, and all the good righteous things were preserved. And then I shifted over, and I saw Jesus. He was floating there on his horse above the Mount of Olives. And then he got up, and he lowered down, and he stood about 6 inches off the ground. And then he just touched his tippy toe on the ground, and the whole Mount of Olives just separated. It created a whole new valley, and it created 2 mountains. And then he lowered down, and I saw when he touched the ground, everywhere he touched, everything brightened. The grass became greener. The ground became more rich and nutrient. And then I saw in a time-lapse thing, all the chosen, all the Jewish people were starting to gather around, and they formed a nice path, a nice pathway for him to proceed to. And they finally had their eyes opened. The veil was finally taken off their eyes, and they recognized Jesus as the Messiah. And then he was walking up towards the east gate. And I could see in the sky all the angels and all the redeemed believers and all the people that were in the battle and the singers. They were all hovering in the sky, watching this thing, watching Jesus about to enter into his throne room on the earth. And then he walked up the hill, and that was the weird thing. Because when the new valley was made, when the Mounts of Olives were made, it was almost like the hill that the walled city of Jerusalem was on was raised, or everything else lowered. Either way, the temple, the throne room, the walled city in Jerusalem was now the highest point on the face of the planet. When the earth changed, became the new earth, when the shock wave hit, it was like the earth was compressed, compacted. It still weighed the same, but the mountain range changed along with the landscapes. And anyway, when Jesus made his way to the east gate, he just stood there and he looked at the wall that had been there. Because around the archway, they had built these great big huge concrete blocks to keep anybody from going in there. And so Jesus looked at it, and he said something in a language I didn't understand. Then all of a sudden these concrete blocks, these stone blocks, they all crumbled and they turned into the natural stones that they used to be. And when they hit the ground, they were kind of bouncing and dancing, and I could swear they were singing. These rocks that had been there this whole time just waiting for him were praising the Lord, and they formed a little pathway for him to walk up from the east gate. There's a little pathway of rocks, and they were all about the size of a fist and stuff like that. And it was quite a cool thing to see living rocks singing praises to the Lord when he spoke to them. And anyway, he stood in the archway of the east gate, and he turned to those of the redeemed that were in the sky, and he just said, "It is time for the gathering, for the judgment of the nations."